to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations, Mall of America and the Skyway in downtown Minneapolis. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at fixologymn on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
My mother's coming at the end of the May, and she's like, I'm bringing my iPad and a watch. You have to tell John Hedges. And I'm like, all right, I'll tell John Hedges.
I miss your mom.
She's coming.
Yep.
Yep.
We'll have to get together.
Yep.
Right here. Now that you have a
live
house.
show by then.
Now that you have a house, we'll do it here and at a live show. I do think, we have a couple of restaurants who are interested. Hopefully we'll finalize some things here in the next couple of weeks. From Steve Hoaglund, is Kaprizov's team, if Kaprizov's team managed to win it all in the KHL, any chance they'd let him out a year early so he could play in the NHL?
That'd be the only possibility, the only way, because they control this stuff. And Dan Milstein's in a tough spot too, because I don't think he wants to be viewed, if he wants to ever get Russian clients again, he's going to be viewed as somebody that's going to try to breach a contract over there. So I think the only way, in the Wild are praying that Kaprizov wins it all, so then they can try. That is the only way.
From Jared Mealy, I read in one of your stories that Brad Bombardier will be representing the Wild at the draft lottery. Why isn't Fenton representing the team? Is it because he has trouble talking to the media?
I don't know. I mean, it's a good question why Paul isn't here. Tomorrow they do have their I could tell you exit meetings are all week. Mm-hmm. So that's probably part of it. It was originally supposed to be just tomorrow, and now I think it's going to go all week. But I don't know if anything's changed in that thing. I do think that Paul should be there just in case they win it. But, man, it would be fun if Brad's there and somehow the Wild get lucky and just to see Brad be interviewed and, that guy. Oh, I have a great Brad Bombardier story.
Let's hear it.
So let me find the text message. So the other night, I'm going to Dallas. The other morning, I'm going to Dallas, and I just happened to see Bombardier on the other side of security in front of me, and he was going on a scouting trip, I guess. And I see him, and I am 10 people into being in front of TSA, and he's on the other end going through security, and I, on top of my lungs, go, "Bomber!" And then he doesn't hear me, and I go,
"You're
Bomber!"
yelling "Bomber" in an airport?
And then finally he turns around, and then it dawns on me as everybody's looking at me. I'm like, so I sent him a text. I'm like, just dawned on me, screaming "Bomber" in front of TSA wasn't my brightest move ever. And he goes, exactly. You're not the first one to almost get me shot.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think you would have been the person getting shot, though.
Yeah. I don't know. Poor guy.
Johnson from Wisconsin asks, thanks for the entertaining content from the past season.
Can you imagine if Charlie Walters was there? Shooter!
I was letting you deliver the punchline, yes. Does Suter's comment post-game serve as a signal to Leopold that he's okay with Fenton firing Bruce, or would that most likely
I didn't take it like that.
face?
I think he was talking about the context of the question was players.
Okay. From NH, will the Wild ever have a solid backup goaltender again?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, did you see what Stalock was playing behind the other night? And the Wild, he almost stole that game from them. He's signed for 3 more years. Gives him time to develop Kokkonen and Robson.
From Jay Ewan, will Paul Fenton be renewing Russo's contract this offseason? Will the Athletic be looking for a new beat writer? I hope that's satirical because that's not the way it works. From Michael H. Babcock, I'd love to hear Russo make an argument for why they wouldn't buy Rask out or trade him if it's possible.
Because the same thing, why any GM that makes a huge decision, I'm trying to think, there was the reason why I'm kind of slow with my answers, I was thinking of an analogy with Chuck Fletcher the other day, and it did dawn on me that, I think people need to understand that when a GM makes a decision, that it's hard for them to cut the cord immediately and admit a mistake. And this is one of those cases. And I think that they'll look at Rask and just say, all right, we acquired him midseason. He got hurt almost immediately. He never really fit in. Let's give him another year, a full training camp to get acclimated to his new team. And then if it doesn't work next year, you make the deal. You make the move. This is somebody that is a former 20-goal guy. I have a lot of trouble believing that's going to happen again the way that he skates. But if he goes into his exit meeting and expresses to Paul that, look, I'm changing the way that I train this summer. Maybe I'm committed enough to spend some time here in Minnesota this summer. I think that then you give him another try. The other thing, as I just said, is that, all right, you have plenty of cap space. Why do you need to buy him out? Last year when they bought out Ennis, a lot of it was that he wasn't fitting in, but a lot of it is that they needed the cap space. This summer, if you get rid of Rask, who are you getting? I just mentioned the free agents. There's just not a lot of intrigue out there. So unless you know that 100% that you're using that money in a wiser way, I think you probably just give him one more year. But I can tell you that all indications that I have is that Carolina was buying him out this summer, which makes the move even more of an alarming thing.
Hoaglund, Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent. He works out of Champlin, but you can work with him wherever you are, as Michael Russo and I both do.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number one in car insurance since World War II and number one in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
From MG Mancini, any update on if or when Michael Modano is coming to the Wild?
Well, I think he's already enrolled his kids here, so he's moving. Okay. The question is, what is his role going to be? My guess is it's going to be some sort of ambassador-type role with being also a Paul with the ability to use him as a sounding board. That'd be kind of my guess. I don't think it would ever be as a president of hockey ops or something like that.
From Josh, do 9, 24, and 11 being healthy for a full season make a difference in consistency and get the Wild to the playoffs? And if not, what do you do to try to get there other than a right-shot right winger?
Well, I do think that if they had those guys healthy down the stretch, they're shoo-in to make the playoffs even without Niederreiter, Coyle, and Granlund. I don't know. I mean, I think that in that case, overall, you have those guys and you're a better team than Dallas. St. Louis absolutely got on fire, and Colorado, all the power to them. They're playing unbelievable hockey right now. I absolutely picked them to upset Calgary in the first round of the playoffs. So, I don't know if the Wild would have outlasted them, but I do think that the Wild would have figured out a way to be in the top 8, no doubt. What was the other part of the question, or was there another?
No, that's good enough. From Cobra Brick, what Wild players expected to be on the trade block this summer?
I mean, Zucker. I think that's guarantee.
From MJ, will the next live podcast event coincide with your mother's visit? We're trying to make that happen, but we got, one thing I've learned about running a business, you don't have a deal till you have a deal.
We can always have, just people over to the house here.
We could do that. From Vincent Tremblay.
You have to all bring housewarming presents, though.
I knew there's
Starbucks
a catch.
Gift cards.
I knew there was a catch. From Vincent Tremblay, we know Kaprizov wants to honor his KHL contract, but if he wanted to, could he come over next season?
I mean, again, we just talked about that.
Yeah. From Ben, what is a reasonable jump we should be?
If Kaprizov wants to one day return to Russia without winding up in Siberia, he probably needs to honor the contract.
Right. From Ben, what is a reasonable jump we should be expecting from the 22 and under group in terms of production and roles?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on ice time and responsibility. But I don't just think all of a sudden Greenway and Cunnin are just going to start lights out being 25 goal scorers. I just don't. I mean, they got a ton of ice time and roll down the stretch, and they weren't scoring on a consistent basis. And look, I mean, I got to tell you, as good as Donato was, the way he was in the last 5-10 games when those games got hard, very alarming. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just is. It just is. Fiala was a -23 this year. Oh my God!
Wow.
He might be a game
shocking.
breaker, but it's the other end.
MJ, our friend Mary, asks, what are the best attributes of Jim and Brandon that make the podcast just dream work? We're not going to answer that. From Bill, do you see Fenton? I appreciate
if it wasn't for Brandon, I'd be long gone.
Exactly. Me too. Do you see?
Actually, there's a lot of truth.
There's a lot of truth. Absolutely. From Bill, do you see Fenton trading any of the young forwards this offseason in like Greenway or Eck?
I doubt it. I just can't see it. I mean, especially when you're selling the young kids, as Eriksson Ek would be the only one, but especially when you're selling all these young kids, I think he looks as Cunnin and Greenway as having really bright futures right now. So
you don't want to cook, you don't want to do dishes, you may not want to wait in line or drive or find parking to go out to eat. Order Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. Do it on the Bite Squad app. It makes paying very simple. They deliver quickly. The food looks great when it gets there. BiteSquad.com. Use the promo code TALKNORTH for your first delivery fee free. I always struggle with that. But after that, just continue to use Bite Squad because they support the network. We are able to do what we do because of our sponsors. So thanks to bitesquad.com. From Carlos Ledesma, does this weekend's Brown arrest make his release a fait accompli?
I don't know. That's something to definitely ask tomorrow. Trying to say this without being a little. I don't even know what I'm trying
Just
to
say what you say. Say, I shouldn't say this, but, and then say something.
I'll just say this. I don't think there were a lot of players on the team that were very professional the night before. Brown just probably should have gone back to the hotel 3 hours earlier with the rest of the guys. I'll just say, I mean, it's the last game of the season. He wasn't the only one out. Release, they would have to buy him out, or I don't know what the rules are if you could hold it against him and essentially breach him of contract or things like that. I mean, it's a question we'll have to ask Paul tomorrow. There's no doubt about it. But the locker room just needs to be better. There were a couple players after the game the other night that were almost laughing and talking about how hard these last two games are to play when there's nothing to play for. And
except your
I don't buy
careers,
it.
Your jobs, your careers.
I don't buy it. You still have to be professional. I know I watched the Chicago Blackhawks the last week and a half of the season when they had nothing to play for, and they were working their freaking ass off. I was watching Kane. Taves scored that gigantic goal, and he went nuts on the ice during the, and did the flyby and everything. And Kane was working his butt off and things like that. That's what leaders do. Okay, they play because people paid $150 to watch you play. They don't just show up and go through the motions the way the Wild did in their freaking home finale. And the guys on this team need to look in the mirror. And that's another reason why I think that Bruce should get another year. So all these players don't have excuses because this locker room needs sometimes to be freaking held responsible. And so I just didn't like the way they played the last two games, not showing up for your goaltender. Plus,
there are scouts in the stands. There are general managers watching these games.
It's so absolutely unconscionable the way they play that home finale, let alone the freaking regular season finale.
And here's the other aspect. Because they're professionals, we talk about, okay, they're getting paid, people are paying money. You can go to any basketball court or homemade rink in America and see people competing. Mm-hmm. For no money, for no reason other than that's what you do when you go out onto a playing surface. You compete. It's disgusting when people don't.
Yeah.
From Brian Judd, he asked kind of a question about the edge. I think you answered it. From another one from Brian, St. Louis and Dallas seemed to really respond after they were called out publicly. If you were the GM or team president, who or whom would you have called out this season to motivate the team?
I don't know. I mean, I think just I think they were. This isn't about so much that people needed to be called out. I mean, they just aren't good enough. I mean, to expect that they were, especially after the moves. But remember, when the moves were done, they were in a playoff spot. They're just not good enough. I mean, just look at them. It was like, one line that I have in my story tomorrow is that it was like they were going into a gunfight every night with a slingshot. I mean, just look at them. Look at the guys they were throwing out on the ice. And they're not that these guys aren't going to be good players one day, but they're not at this point able to play in these roles. That's what the minors are for. And so, being called, I mean, I guess at midseason when they were up and down, I can tell you, I mean, the joke in December when Jim Lights said all the stuff he said about those Dallas Stars, I jokingly sent texts to guys like Leopold and Make. I'm like, hey, any availability for an interview today? So, yeah, I mean, back then maybe they needed a little bit of a wake-up call, but this is a different room. That's all I could say. I mean, it's just a different room.
From Gage Longerud, I hope I got that right. Assuming the Wild gets the 11th pick, who do you see them taking at that spot?
I don't know. Tony Abbott or one of our analytics, one of our contributors is going to be looking into that. Tomorrow night, I'm taking part in an athletic mock draft. So I don't have names for you yet. I mean, I'll go really study into that tomorrow. But I mean, any scoring forward is what this team needs right now. It just is. There are intriguing names there. I've looked at a bunch of them. So hopefully they got to hit some homers on their first round pick. We've talked about Philip Johansson last week. Obviously a long shot right now. and regardless, not an offensive defenseman, so he's not somebody that's going to ever really